I remember the geographical aspect of it very well because it was beautifully situated in Spokane, and we got the best of winter, lots of snow, cold, but bright, dazzlingly so. And then in summer, I wasn't there for the whole summer, but there it wasn't excessively hot. It was a dry heat. And I remember those the main memories I have of it. Also remember very clearly an extraordinarily vivid memory of a day out I had after Christmas. There was quite near Gonzaga College was a public park. And I went to this public park just by chance, and it was absolutely stepping into fairyland. You had beautiful sun, you had the sun reflected off the snow, so that was warm and colourful, and children were there skating on the lake in the middle of the park. And it was dreamland, and I still try to recreate that image in my mind. Oh. And that's one of my great memories of my time there. Also going out in the morning on supply to a convent and driving along happily. In a way I'd never drive here in such a morning, I'd be terrified. But here with the wheels, whatever they did with the wheels, we went along quite easily. So they were the trivial memories. And then of course the charm of the Americans. The students were absolute gentlemen, it seemed. No doubt they were gurriers and lost in them, but in actual fact they were extraordinarily polite and considerate.
Your description there of that park, it reminds me, I think you wrote somewhere that at the origin of Hopkins' poetry there's something very raw, a love of the simple goodness of nature, and a terror of losing everything he sought in life. So you talked about your love of that goodness of nature in the park. Is there something of that in Hopkins that you liked to his love of the goodness of nature?
Well, he really loved nature. He had an ambivalent attitude towards it, but he really loved it. And I thought you were going to say, was he afraid of losing it? I've often felt I'll never capture that image again. But he didn't think like that. He seemed to have no difficulty whatsoever in holding the images. It was underlying the usefulness of the images were the thing that worried Hopkins, I think.
And then the whole thing of nature and God doesn't seem to be, our contemporaries don't seem to, they might admire the beauty of nature, but it doesn't necessarily lead them to anything transcendent.
No, I think that's very obvious in nature lovers today in Ireland. That is an end in itself. Whereas Hopkins, it was always a way to God. And yet at times, he seemed to be a bit ambivalent about that. Did it lead him to God or not? Like, for instance, he had the image of going to dinner in, I think it was St. John, the preparatory school for Stonyhurst, for one of the Jesuit colleges. And he had a marvellous time going, absolutely losing himself in nature. Then, seemingly coming back, he forbade himself to look at nature because he had been sharp at dinner with some companion, it seemed. And he said as a penance, he would forbid himself to look at nature, look at this scene again. So therefore, the question that comes to my mind, did he really perceive nature as leading to God, or didn't he?
Oh, so that he might have had a temptation to divinize nature.
Exactly.